All right, this is the City Council of Prescott's voting meeting. Today is January 11th, so we will begin by having any announcements or introductions.
Yes, Mayor, I have a few announcements. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year and welcome to our first council meeting of 2022. And we have a lot to look forward to, and we will have a very productive year. First of all, I want to say if you want to give back to your community and serve, now is your chance. We have a need for volunteers on the City of Prescott boards and commissions. There are a number of vacancies to fill. This is a great way for citizens to take an active role in their local government. So you can go to the city's website to submit an application. And we have openings on the Library Advisory Board, Acker Trust, Planning and Zoning, Prescott Preservation Commission, the Tourism Advisory, Art and Public Places, and many more. Also, the City of Prescott Acker Trust is now accepting grant applications from organizations in accordance with the will of J.S. Acker, having to do with music and parks, especially for children of Prescott. Nonprofit organizations are encouraged to apply for funding for fiscal year 2023. The deadline is March 12, and all forms must be received at the Recreation Services Office, 824 East Gurley Street. And applications can also be picked up there or downloaded at the website, prescott-az.gov, or you may call Samara Rice at 928-777-1588 for more details. Thank you.
Before we formally start the meeting, I wanted to have a particular recognition. Mr. Gunby, come on up. I'm a member of the Arizona Golf Association, and of course I got my quarterly publication here, but by the time I finally found out about it, you'd already been recognized and inducted. So John Gunby is one of our local Antelope Hills PGA teaching golf professionals. He was recognized and has been serving the game of golf for over 40 years. And his documented and well-recognized awards and acknowledgments from his peers are kind of without I don't think anybody else has done anything like John has done. In 2013, he was the Southwest PGA Golf Professional of the Year. He was enshrined into the Southwest PGA Hall of Fame in 2019. And he was the 2017 recipient of the Arizona Golf Association's Champion of Golf Award for selfless lifetime service to the game of golf. In 2019, John received the Southwest PGA Patriot Award, which bestows special recognition on a PGA professional who personifies patriotism through the game of golf and demonstrates unwavering commitment and dedication to the men and women who have valiantly served and protected the United States. So now John has been inducted into the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame Committee, and that announcement was made on November 23rd, which happened to be the same date where we were sworn in and where I was sworn in as mayor, and our new council was sworn in as well. So we had a little conflict of interest there, and that's why I probably missed this notification, but I wasn't about to allow this to go unrecognized. So I think everybody should give John Gunby a round of applause.
Well, I just want to thank you, Mayor and City Council and all the business people, all the citizens. What a great place to live, and work, and play. So I'm honored to be a part of this community.
Well, I certainly read your articles about how better to play golf. I wish I could take those to heart, but everybody in the city of Prescott has access to your exceptional abilities, and we're proud to have you.
Thank you. I'm very honored. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Mayor, can we get a picture? Mayor, can we just get a picture?
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now have an invocation from Pastor Matt Cotman from the Solid Rock Christian Fellowship.
You join me in prayer. Father, this is your world. It's your gift to us. This city is your gift. Our lives are your gift. Your word says that we move, live, and have our being in you. And so, Father, we ask that we would acknowledge your governance and decrees. We would be enabled to flourish in your world. Father, I pray for this council and for this meeting that you would grant strength and wisdom. We ask that humility, truth, and unity would prevail in this meeting. We ask, Lord, that the best would be chosen over the good, the important over the urgent, the effective over the efficient. May this meeting and the outcomes demonstrate the beauty of the common grace that you've given to your image bearers here in Prescott. It's in Jesus' life-giving name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Pastor.
Now join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Good,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Rusing,
Here.
Councilwoman Hall,
Here.
Councilman Montoya,
Here.
Councilman Moore,
Here.
Councilman Sishka,
Here.
and Councilman Tenney.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to proclamations. First one is the Prescott School Choice Week.
Got it. See what I get asked to do.
Today I'm proclaiming Prescott School Choice Week, January 23rd to 29, 2022. So, do we have any school choice folks out there that can come up here? Nobody? All right. Well, then I'll do it by myself. Whereas all children in Prescott should have access to the highest quality education possible. And whereas Prescott recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Prescott to be successful adults. Whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Prescott, and whereas Prescott is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children at home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Prescott has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now therefore feel good, Mayor of the City of Prescott does hereby recognize the week of January 23rd through 29th, 2022 as Prescott School Choice Week. So with nobody to hand this to,
Very well done. Thank you. Now we'll have a proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Representatives here, please stand up. Proclamation for Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, which is Monday, January 17th, 2022. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. Whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities. Whereas Dr. King's dream for these teachings to be manifested for all people everywhere will lead us all to continue working to make the dream a reality in our community. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is the only federal holiday commemorated as a national day of service and offers an opportunity for all Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and make an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. Whereas days of service help to raise awareness, mobilize volunteers, and provide individuals with an opportunity to engage and build new connections and help nonprofits find support for their programs. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service is intended to empower individuals, strengthen communities, bridge barriers, create solutions to social problems, and move us closer to Dr. King's vision of a beloved community. Now, therefore, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday as a day of service in Prescott and call upon the people of Prescott to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through participation in community service projects on Martin Luther King Jr. Day and throughout the year. I have this for you, and I would appreciate if a representative would come forward and say a few words.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I would like to invite everyone out to the MLK March that's happening on the 17th. It starts at the Prescott College on Grove Avenue, and that starts at 10 a.m. And then we march around the square and end up at the Prescott United Methodist Church. And there's light refreshments and there's little snacks there, and you can kind of communicate with each other and fellowship. And then there's a service that starts right at 11 a.m. And we'll have music, singing, there's spoken word, there's a junior keynote speaker this year, which is a teen, and we're excited about that. That's new this year. And then our main keynote speaker that's coming from Phoenix. So please come out and help us celebrate. I was so excited. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Pastor Kendra Hobson of the St. Luke Ebony Christian Church in Prescott Valley, Arizona.
Thanks. He wants a photo.
Thanks.
Now we'll move on to the open call to the public.
Rod, I apologize, I may mispronounce your last name. Ludke, thank you.
Can we go ahead and read the
We can.
announcement?
Yes. Sorry. So as a reminder, the council is not permitted to discuss matters not included on the council agenda. However, this open call to the public is for the public to address council for items not on the posted agenda. You are limited to 4 minutes to address council. And again, council will not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Interaction will be limited to requests to staff to investigate and report on matters, or requests that a matter be scheduled for future agendas.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Mr. Ludke.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Esteemed council members, I'm here to inform you as a board member for Black Hawk HOA, a small organization that's at the very top of Prescott Lakes, that we have a dangerous speed situation there. Of course, there's speed limit signs posted limiting the speed or showing the speed limit at the bottom of Trail Walk and near Mogollon for vehicles entering the neighborhood, as well as on Golden Hog Drive near Smoke Tree Lane. But it seems by the time drivers get to my street, which is a really long, straight street, that they've forgotten that they're still on a residential street, and I believe freeway speeds are all right. We've had a number of instances where vehicles are going close to 60 miles an hour with pedestrians and walking in the area, and we have no sidewalks, so there's really no place else other than the side of the street for people to walk with themselves and if they're walking pets. We have a lot of folks with dogs that walk. So I'm requesting two things. One, a temporary presence of a traffic officer to, shall we say, remind folks that they should not be doing 60 in a 25 or less zone. And secondly, I'm requesting that speed limit signs be posted on each end of the street. First, for westbound traffic near Trail Walk on South Lakeview Drive, and then for eastbound traffic just east of the street entering on the other end, which is Peace Pipe. And hopefully we can get some of this under control. I've had a couple of close instances myself. My wife tried to flag somebody down who was going way too fast and just got invited to have a happy one birthday. So that's a little, this is out of control. So I'm hoping you folks can do something about it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
K. Greg Murray.
Don't forget Yvonne. She's still here.
Thanks for providing this opportunity. My name is Greg Murray. I'm a recently retired professor of biology, and today I want to encourage the City Commission or City Council to commission a climate vulnerability assessment that'll help us to prepare for the future. I studied and taught about the biological consequences of climate change for decades, and I was part of a group that helped the city of Holland, Michigan become more sustainable in its own energy use and preparation for climate change. I'm speaking today as a member of the Interfaith Climate Action Team. As people of faith, we feel called to protect the natural world and to preserve it for those who come after us so that it'll provide for their needs just as it has for ours. Science has shown us that intact ecosystems provide us with services that are essential to every aspect of our lives, including every part of our economy. We know that average temperatures are going to continue to increase, and we know that droughts and wildfires are going to become more frequent and more extreme. And we know that both of those effects are already changing the composition of the biological communities that draw both residents and visitors to this area. Most projections of climate change and the consequences of it are for large geographic regions, and they don't begin to provide details for localities that differ in elevation, hydrology, vegetation, and so forth. The data are available to make more detailed projections for areas like ours, but somebody has to be engaged to interpret the data specific to our area. And only by doing that can we really understand what the Quad Cities are going to experience and how to plan for dealing with it. As a biologist, my focus has always been on the consequences of climate change for the natural world. But as a citizen, father, and member of the Prescott community, I'm also concerned about the built environment, the towns where we live and work, the buildings, roads, and utility infrastructure that support them. Business clearly depends on infrastructure and thus on planning for the climate future unfolding before us. But for the same reasons, attracting a skilled and committed workforce depends on the same kind of planning. We can't just be a retirement community, and young families won't want to settle in a place that's threatened by water shortages and natural catastrophes that decrease property values, increase insurance rates, and discourage investment by themselves and everyone else. Instead, they'll want to settle in a place that protects the natural beauty and the outdoor recreational opportunities that it affords to citizens and visitors alike. They'll want to settle where they can charge their electric cars at work or in public parking lots when they need to, and where they can imagine their own children settling when the time comes. They'll be drawn to a community that they can brag about, a community that they'll be proud to call their home. The Interfaith Climate Action Team wants to thank City Council for placing the proposed Protect Vulnerability Assessment on its strategic priority list for 2022. That's a great move, and we very much appreciate it. We hope that Prescott will follow the lead of other communities like Flagstaff and Sedona and commission an assessment that will help us to understand the challenges that we face and plan for a future that keeps Prescott the best place to live, work, and play. We all owe it to our children and grandchildren to ensure that this area's natural and built environments can sustain their lives as it has ours. Thanks very much for providing this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Murray.
Thank you.
Sedona Ortega.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sedona Ortega, and I'm a senior in high school at Tri-City College Prep. And I was born in Prescott, so was my brother and both of my parents. And we are Prescott natives through and through and have watched our town grow a lot. I'm sure as elected officials, you have overseen the organization of many events, and I can relate to that as a member of student council and the member of many youth advisory committees and councils across Arizona, as I've organized food drives, fundraisers, school events, and community projects. And I would assume that in organizing these events, you've had a similar experience as I have, that you often consider all that could go wrong. So this isn't because we're pessimists, but it's simply because we care about the success of our projects. So in order to ensure that everyone is going to be safe and happy and that everything goes smoothly, we must prepare for the worst so that we can enjoy the best. This requires a lot of planning as we evaluate all of the different scenarios and figure out the best way to move forward. Now let's consider, for example, that you're simply overseeing the health and well-being of our overall community, which is what you currently do. It is crucial that we prepare for anything that could go wrong in our community so that we can preserve the safety of our citizens. This is why it is important to conduct a climate risk assessment of our area. I know you have heard from a number of individuals in our community about this issue already, and I'm here because I want to assure you that this is an issue young people care deeply about as well. And while many of you may not connect with young people very often, we have a very important perspective to listen to. Droughts, wildfires, higher temperatures, and water shortages will undoubtedly impact our area. Some people in this community will not be alive to witness all of the environmental impacts that our town will experience in the years to come. But I will be here, and my dear friends will be here, and your children and grandchildren will be here, and my children and grandchildren will be here too. Even in my lifetime of almost 18 years, I've seen a lot of change, development, and expansion of the Prescott area. There's also absolutely no secret that we have limited resources, and we will most likely have to come up with creative solutions to continue to thrive in Prescott and the surrounding regions. It is important that we have a plan to protect the well-being of our citizens, economy, and environment. That is why I urge you to work with the Protect campaign and conduct a climate risk assessment to develop a plan for our area now. No matter how prepared we are, there will be unprecedented climate issues in the future as our population continues to grow and our open space and resources continue to diminish. However, you all have the option to act now and be the ones to guard our community from potential threats and disasters. The citizens of Prescott want this, young people want this, so I hope that as elected officials you will act on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kaya Hayes.
Afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Kaya Hayes. I just have a quick comment, or I suppose a request for clarification on behalf of some folks that I've spoken with as we've tried to amplify throughout our community circles and groups this message of civic engagement and the opportunities available for folks to step up and serve the city through the committees, advisories, and boards, as Mayor Pro Tem Rusing shared at the beginning of the meeting and reiterated. Some confusion has sort of arisen surrounding whether or not there's a deadline for folks to step up and apply. I think this comes from a couple places. Some of the language on the City of Prescott website states that applications are accepted year-round, while another link under the news and updates, I believe, stated that there was a deadline of January 14th. And then I think there may have been a misprint in the Courier press release where it stated that the deadline is 5 p.m. January 4th. So on behalf of those citizens who are interested in stepping up and taking this opportunity to become civically engaged, I was hoping to get some clarification on whether there is a deadline, and if there is a deadline, whether the council may be willing to consider extending this and clarifying the date so that the opportunity to gather more high quality candidates doesn't go missed.
I can address that, Mayor, if you'd like.
Please do.
Okay. So Kaya, we do accept applications year round. However, we also conduct specific recruitments for term ends. So all of our various boards and commissions, we have 27 in total, have specific term end dates. So currently we are seeking applications for all of our boards and commissions that have terms that are expiring at the end of March. So that's why we do have a deadline on that. The original deadline for submission was Tuesday the 4th. We decided to extend it until Friday the 14th, so this Friday at 5 p.m., just hoping to get some more applications for a couple of boards that we were a little bit light on. Okay. All of our applications, once they're received, if the subcommittee on appointments does not recommend appointment that the balance of council approves, we retain all of the applications for a period of 1 year so that people can be considered for future vacancies. With regard to accepting applications year round, we do occasionally have, people that move, that resign from boards, things of that nature. And so in that circumstance, then the subcommittee would take a look at any recent applications that we've received or anything that's been on file since the last recruitment. So
excellent. Thank you.
I
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And our last one is Yvonne Dorman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Yvonne Dorman. I live on Mullen Way, which is in the far southwest corner of Prescott city limits. It's a very forested area, and we have been annexed into the city as of, I believe, 2003. And we have not looked for a free ride, but we have looked for water and sewer services and have been in the budget, I believe, 3 times. And I believe we're in the planning stage right now, at least in the design stage. I don't know what all the right words are. It's at 30%, and apparently it has stopped as the council is trying to set down new rules for water and sewer allocations. I request that you put us back on schedule. I mean, it's kind of like Lucy and Charlie Brown and the football. We get kind of close, and then it's, oh no, something else is more important. And the football, is pulled away. There are no fire hydrants whatsoever from Copper Basin all the way up Mullen Way. Not one single fire hydrant. And I thought the city had a code or a law or a rule, I don't know what it falls under, that one needs to be every certain number of feet. Without naming names, one fire chief has said he would never send his men into my neighborhood. One fire chief has said, these are both public, has said that it's the most dangerous neighborhood in the city of Prescott fire-wise. So I beg you to come out and look. It is a beautiful area. The city likes to brag about how beautiful the ponderosas are, and I think my neighborhood is very good about taking down dead trees and cleaning brush as much as possible. So I thank you for listening to me, and I do hope you will do something about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dorman.
That's all, Mayor.
Well, I appreciate the citizens who are taking advantage of this call to the public, and I think it's a valuable addition to our meetings. So at this point, we will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any items on consent that want to be pulled off for discussion?
Yes, we do. I'd like to pull item 8C, the crack seal.
8C will be pulled for discussion. I'll entertain a motion on the remaining items.
Mayor, I move we approve consent agenda items A, B, and D. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote.
And Councilman Moore, if I can just get an aye or a nay from you for approval of consent items A through D, excluding item C.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 7-0.
Hey, Mayor Pro Tem, item 8C.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Dossett.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council.
I just have, I'd like some clarification. This is for a crack sealing project in the southwest part of the Prescott for $262,191. And we have a map here that is somewhat difficult to read, and from what I can tell, though, it looks like there's a lot of communities included in this map that have private streets, like Hacienda Country Club, Timber Ridge. It looks like areas in the county are included, like going up Thumb Butte Road and up Copper Basin Road that are still in the county. It looks like Mountain Club is included. So I was just wondering if how we figure out what's being done from this map. Do you have any way to help me out here?
Yes, and so two things. First, this is simply a contract to purchase the product, the crack seal material, that we have another contract already in place for an applicator to put it down. Next, in regards to the map, this is a general vicinity map. You're absolutely correct. There are private streets identified in your county areas. This is a general map of the main part of the city that we will be doing crack sealing on city streets that require it. If we were to make a map that specifically identified every one of the streets that we were going to do it on, it'd take almost as much time as to do the crack sealing. So we just have a general area that on that part of the city, we will be doing crack seal on the appropriate streets.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Councilman Montoya.
Craig, I have one more question. Sorry. So do you guys have a plan in place where you rotate from one area to other? I mean, did you identify this specific area because there was a exceeding need, or what's the process like?
Yes, sir. There's an entire pavement management program. That program identifies everything that we do as far as street maintenance. This is considered a preservation method. Gotcha. And there are a number of other things that we do as preservation, but that's all driven by the pavement maintenance program. That program was established through, we did laser evaluation of all streets in the city. They were all given a number, a category from 0 to 100. And then from that, then that identifies what is the preservation method or total reconstruction or mill and fill. What is the method that's needed for that pavement at this time? And then it sets out multiple year visions of that. So we take each fiscal year and we divide our funding up under those different preservation methods and or full replacement all the way through. And the idea is to put the appropriate method on the pavement at the appropriate time. So to keep the pavement as good as long as we can before you have to do the major replacements to it.
I appreciate the clarification. I think it's important for the citizens of our community to realize that just because their street's in a bad state doesn't mean that it's not on on our watch list necessarily, or if you're not in this map, it doesn't mean that we don't know what's going on in your neighborhood. So thank you for that clarification.
And an excellent point. And unfortunately, some streets that are in bad or very bad condition, they have to continue to get worse before we can put the big dollars into them. Before we've completely exhausted the lifetime of that pavement, before we throw it away, we've got to get that life out of it. Otherwise, because we can't afford to throw it away prematurely.
Thank you for that.
Mayor, I move to approve city contract number 2022-141 to Superior Supply, Inc.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. We'll move on to consent ordinance.
Adoption of ordinance number 2022-1786, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, authorizing the acceptance of a public utility easement agreement from DV Phase 1 Borrower LLC and authorizing the mayor and staff to execute any and all documents to effectuate said acceptance.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 2022-1786.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. Now we'll move on to the regular agenda. Item A, discussion and approval of the 2022 legislative agenda.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Tyler Goodman with the City Manager's Office, and it's unfortunate that you're going to have to see my face a lot more over the next coming months. The legislative session just started yesterday, and just as a little bit of background, each year we bring a legislative agenda to you so that we, myself, staff, and Barry Aarons can get some general guidance and even specific guidance on things that we want to achieve. Now, for those who've been around or who have followed the legislative sessions, they move fast. Sometimes they move way too fast, and a lot of surprises come up almost out of nowhere. So with the items in here, we can get some general guidance from you so that we can act pretty quickly. And I do plan to come before you each council meeting through the remainder of the session to give you updates on where we are and what's going on. So this is to kick it off. And we've had these guiding principles on page 1 since I've been doing this. The first is to oppose preemption of local authority. You'll hear this very common from the League of Cities and Towns, and this helps us give a general idea of what we should be opposing or supporting that comes out of the session. Number 2 is to preserve local funding. You've heard this a lot. This really is in regards to state shared revenues, which there's a lot of different angles that those can be diminished or attacked, let's say. And so we like to have this generally in the guidelines so that we can respond accordingly. Now, more specifically for this legislative session, and I spoke extensively with Barry Aarons about these, and this is not an all-inclusive list. As I said before, there's going to be a lot of items that come up, and we'll bring those to you. But generally speaking, out of the gates, these are the few things that we want to focus on. The first being to continue the state budget appropriation for the hot shots. Back in 2019, the legislature approved $7 million over 7 years to help pay down that pension liability. So far, we have received $3 million of that, and we will continue to seek the other $4 million. It is in the state's base budget, so anything short of them actually going in and pulling that out of the base budget, it's guaranteed to be in there. But basically, we just keep an eye on it to make sure that it is in that base budget. Second is the Tourism Marketing Authority. This is actually an item that it's come up in the last 2 legislative sessions, and I'll jump kind of to the end, which is we don't expect a bill to be dropped this year in regards to this topic because the governor is not supportive. So I think the stakeholders who are interested are going to wait until the next session to push for anything hard. But in general, it's in regards to hotels and related transient lodging facilities. They'd be able to seek for approval or the creation of an authority to, and I should say within a geographical area, so it's set by bounds, to assess customers a per room, per night fee on top of sales tax, on top of bed tax. That would be controlled by that group, that authority, depending on the language of the bill, some of that oversight would be by the city, potentially, and also through our Tourism Marketing Authority, which is the city of Prescott. The monies collected would go towards tourism promotion, and that's pretty much it. So it's basically to attract more tourists to stay in hotels and like facilities and to spend money.
Tyler, why isn't the governor supportive of the Tourism Authority?
I think the biggest division on this one is it's seen as an additional tax. It's not called a tax, but people do see it as one.
Okay.
So that's the big takeaway from those opposed and those for it. Jumping down to expediting water adjudication issues. This was on the agenda last year as well. And speaking with Barry, he gave me an update on the status of where this all is. But during the last legislative session, the legislature approved more financial means to help the administrative office of the courts to quicken or expedite the review of a lot of pending adjudication issues. One of them is this HELA adjudication, which is a long-standing case. It has to do with surface water rights, and basically when cities or when other users were appropriated water, and if they are pumping groundwater, if it affects surface water, there's a lot of legalities in there that are up in the air. So that could change a lot of things for a lot of users, a lot of cities, a lot of stakeholders. It's in the courts. It hasn't been fully vetted, but basically our goal is to make sure that the money that went towards expediting that review actually happens. So that's the goal for this session. And finally, the concept of a regional park in Prescott. Our goal is to work with various stakeholders to pursue the preservation of Glassford Hill and the potential creation of a regional park. We expect that to be done hopefully with state parks help, maybe some legislative help, financial or otherwise, and we will be pushing that effort forward during this session. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on this or maybe in general about this upcoming session.
Any comments or concerns? No, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more of you. I know, I think in the last session they had nearly 1,400 bills dropped.
Yes.
And the expectation is that there are probably even going to be more in this session. So there will be a lot to review, and I think it's particularly important that we keep a close eye on those bills as they come forward. There were a couple of bills last year that really we found out at the very last minute, and fortunately we were able to at least get our city's concerns addressed before decisions were made on some of those. So it's really important that we monitor these things very closely and communicate with Barry Aarons, our city's lobbyist. So thank you, Tyler.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on.
Discussion and approval of the bid related to real estate marketing and brokerage services RFP.
Still me. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Oh.
Tyler Goodman, City Manager's
You're back,
Office.
Tyler.
Yeah, long time. Just a little background on this item. Back in August, staff received some direction from Council to go out and release a request for proposals to see who would be interested in potentially helping us market the 215 and 223 North McCormick Street city-owned property. We went through that RFP process and we received bids back on October 21st. We received one bid from Commercial Properties Northern Arizona. And in discussions with that group, they basically, their recommendation based on our city charter and our rules of bidding properties, it was their professional recommendation that we don't even need to go through this with them. It would be better and more efficient if the city just followed our process, put it out to bid, and see what we can get for it. So with that, we are recommending that the council reject the sole bid, but I will explain what our plans are in order to market that and get opportunities to receive bidders. Number one, we're going to list it on LoopNet, which is the commercial real estate platform online. We are going to place signage outside of the building on both streets. It has frontage on two streets. We have prepared and we'll be releasing an invitation for bids, and that will be released this upcoming Sunday, January 16th, and will close on February 10th. and we will be bringing the bids back to council for approval. And that is the process that we're going to follow and see who puts in and what we can get.
Very good. Councilman Montoya, you had a question.
Yeah, Tyler, I think that it's worth clarifying with the bid process that we go through for this, or as we move forward to sell other as we put things out for bid for other items like this, are it's no one's precluded from applying to that, correct? Like,
Correct.
There's no, like, if it's our will to see, local people can do it, national people can do it. I just think that's worth probably emphasizing, because I think there's some misconception in the community sometimes that, we're limiting who can apply for these bid processes.
Absolutely not. It is open to anybody, local, national, international. And what we've done is, per direction from council in the invitation for bids, we've made it very general, but we've also asked if they have a specific project or use in mind, that they let us know about that, or even if they have renderings or a site plan of what they would use that property for. So we want it to be very open and inviting, but also give the council some information so you can make an informed decision.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions?
So I think that's great that you guys decided to do it in-house for this particular project. I know some commercial realtors would try to solicit people in the area. I don't know, do you get the vibe that you're going to be getting additional or, a number of bids? Have you heard anything? Is it worth it to ask people around town or in that specific area if they're wanting to expand, or are you not, is it part of our policy to not go after anybody?
I don't think there's anything that precludes us from sharing the information. And once it's posted publicly, which it will be in the paper this Sunday and then on our website, that information can be shared with anybody. I have received a couple of inquiries already. This particular item went through the Facilities Optimization Commission a couple of times in the past 6 months or so. And because of that, it generated a lot of interest. And there's still a lot of interest, even though we kind of went through this process to see what we'd get, and now we're going forward with a different idea. But there is interest in it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this property is located on McCormick, but it backs up against our future Granite Creek corridor area and Founding Fathers, and it's in the Hilton area too.
That is correct.
All right. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to reject the bid for the real estate marketing and brokerage services RFP.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reject this bid, so a vote yes would be to reject the bid.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 7-0.
I just wanted to clarify that. There's been some votes before where voting yes meant voting no, or voting no meant voting yes, so I thought it would be appropriate to clarify that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next.
Public
next
hearing regarding a substantial amendment to the 2020 and 2021 CDBG annual action plans.
Good afternoon, Mayor Good and Council. Bryn Stotler, Director of Community Development. It's great to be in front of you today to talk about CDBG. This is a program that our department runs, and we have a very capable grant manager, Michelle Chavez, who's going to join me up here in a moment. But before we got started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about CDBG and just give you sort of a top-down CDBG 101, if you will. So we are what is called a HUD-funded entitlement community. CDBG has several programs. One of them is called entitlement communities, and that happens when you hit a certain population threshold. So CDBG was activated in Prescott when we hit a population metric, and at that point, CDBG and HUD started funding us in about the $240,000 to $250,000 per year range. So we established a Citizens Advisory Committee, or our department back when CDBG activated in Prescott started a Citizens Advisory Committee that the council established. And that is a 7-member board of Prescott residents who review competitive grant applications for CDBG projects. And if you look at our pie chart up there, CDBG has a fund distribution as follows. The majority of the money is allocated for construction projects. There is a 15% allocation to public service. That means direct service provided by, let's say, a nonprofit to individuals. And then there's 20% for administration. So we utilize that to fund the salary of the grant manager. And also, if we have community partners that we utilize, they also can be funded out of the administration budget. Applicants may be nonprofits, they may be for-profits, they also may be government entities. We have actually been our own applicant before. One of the examples of a CDBG project is the sidewalks, curb and gutter, and street lighting in the Dexter neighborhood, as an example. The council oversight includes the approval of an annual action plan, which is our annual competitive grant process. It also includes the approval of a 5-year consolidated plan, which establishes goals for the committee and for the funding. The council also reviews bid process outcomes, which is one of the things you're going to do today, plan amendments, and also just affirming the actions of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Any questions so far? So under HUD's CDBG program, the primary objective is the development of viable communities, and these funds are allocated to principally help low to moderate income individuals. We have an actual map that is similar to similar to the Opportunity Zone map, where it is a pre-qualified area within our city where funding can be awarded based on demographics that are established through the census. But we also just have agencies that work with LMI individuals and or populations, and they can be applicants because the recipients are essentially pre-qualified. The major objectives of the program are decent housing, providing or sustaining a suitable living environment, and economic opportunity.
Brent, I have a question. What is the current threshold to define low and or moderate income?
I'm going to ballpark this, and Michelle can help me, but I believe the scale changes from time to time, and it's established by the federal government. But currently in our area, I believe that 52,000 annually. I'm going to let Michelle confirm that.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Michelle Chavez. I'm the Community Development Block Grant Coordinator. So the low to moderate income ranges. It depends on the size of the family, and so starting at a low income of something like $23,000 for a family of one, and then it goes up from there. So it is actually a scale. And if you would like, I could email you all the actual scale of the current low to moderate income scale.
Yeah, we have a table that is helpful for that, and it does slide across family sizes. Again, any project that's considered by our committee and ultimately by the council for funding must link to the national objectives, and those national objectives are to fund construction projects and public service projects for low to moderate income individuals, to cure any slum and blight that might be present under the national definitions for that, and or to meet urgent needs. And of course, the federal government determines what those urgent needs are. Here's some examples of projects that we've funded through our program and or our community partners have funded. We've got bathroom examples where we, at the Boys and Girls Club, we've taken bathrooms and created accessibility where there was not accessibility. The landscape photos are at the launch pad. So we did some landscape improvements there. Contractors obviously provide the services. We provide the funding through CDBG. And it is a reimbursement program. So these contracts are awarded, the construction projects and or public service projects proceed forward, and then they basically bill back the city for the cost of the project, and that's funded through the CDBG funds. This is a matrix that's a little difficult to read here in this format, but I just wanted you to be familiar with the way that we establish the 5-year plan and the goals. The committee participates in this process and determines what they'd like to focus their efforts on. So this is also something that's available. Michelle can send out to you all if you're interested in knowing what the confirmed 5-year consolidated plan goals are for the current committee. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michelle Chavez, who you just met, and she's going to go into the substantial amendments for the plan year 20 and 21 action plans, as well as the bid.
Thank you, Bryn. Mayor and council members, thank you again. Michelle Chavez, City of Prescott Community Development Block Grant Coordinator. There's 2 items before you today. Bryn gave you a nice 40,000-foot overview of the CDBG program, which many of you are already very familiar with, but since we have some new council members, we thought it'd be a good idea to give a larger picture. The first item today, I just want to let you know too, she mentioned our Citizen Advisory Committee. We have our chair, Mary Ann Suttles, she had to step away. She had a 4:00 appointment, but I wanted to acknowledge that we have our vice chair, Sandy Griffiths, in the back, and we also have our member, Tom Benson, and he's here as well to support this action. And then we also have Nicole Kennedy, who is the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, if you want to just say hi. So if we have questions that come up about the project, we have a representative from the agency here. So the first item, item 10C, is a substantial amendment to our action plan. So as Bryn mentioned, each year, the City of Prescott, we get these applications from the community to get CDBG funds. And when we approve the funds, we actually have to go to the Citizen Advisory Committee to get those applications reviewed and approved. Each year, that annual action plan then gets a 30-day public review and comment period, and then it gets approved by the City Council. After the City Council approves the annual action plan, that goes to HUD. Anytime we're making a change in our action plan, such as we are adding funds to a project or we are eliminating a project, we need to do an amendment. And so that's the purpose of this amendment today. So the Boys and Girls Club was awarded grants in the 2020 and the 2021 program years. The 2020 grant was for the warming kitchen, and the 2021 grant was for to upgrade their bathrooms. Subsequently, the bids for the warming kitchen have come in substantially higher. So the memo that you all have read, or hopefully read, explains that the bids came in higher. So what they asked the city to do was to combine 2 grant program years grants together and use that funding amount to fund the warming kitchen. So we are asking today to make a substantial amendment to our 2020 and 2021 action plans to combine the Boys and Girls Club grants that were already approved by the Citizen Advisory and already approved by the City Council. We are not adding any more additional funds to the Boys and Girls Club. This is just taking 2 approved years action items and combining them so that they can do their project. So the first year grant was $38,970, and then the second year's grant was $35,000. We would like the approval to combine those 2 grants to $73,970 so that we can move forward with the construction of the warming kitchen at the Boys and Girls Club. Again, this has all been approved by the Citizen Advisory Committee. It was also approved by the council. We did a plan amendment public notification in the Courier. We also had a 30-day review and comment period that was from September 29th to October 28th. So any questions regarding the amendment to the plan?
I understand it's a public hearing.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Councilman Montoya.
Michelle, has there been any public comment?
There has been public comment from our Citizen Advisory Committee.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, can you speak to what, like you said, it's been noticed for public comment in the Courier? And
We have not received public comment based on the Courier ad.
Did you receive public comment at the Advisory Committee?
Yes, we do receive feedback from our Citizen Advisory Committee, and then whatever comments that they gave me goes into the minutes, and then the minutes get submitted to HUD.
Okay. Thank you.
So as I see it, this is really kind of a federal bureaucratic approval process by combining 2 years to be able to generate the revenue necessary to do the complete project.
Mayor Good, correct. So we are going through the process of, we have to have public transparency anytime we're going to change our plan. So what this is doing is taking 2 years of dollars and combining them into one. And then essentially we're eliminating a project from our 2021 plan because we had planned to refurbish the bathrooms. So that's on hold for right now. They're free to apply in a future year if they'd like for CDBG. But right now it's just, we're looking to spend the funds on the warming kitchen.
I'm just kind of curious, what did you attribute the high bid situation to?
Mayor Good, we are seeing an additional increase in costs as everyone has. We've had delays because of the pandemic, delays because of the supply chain issues. And so traditionally, this is not a shock that the bids would come in higher or double what we've seen this happen in the past.
So even though it's a relatively small project when you look at the total cost, sometimes when you have supply chain delivery, costs of being able to deliver goods, and then labor situations all coming together at the same time, adding an extra $20,000 or $30,000 is not really that surprising.
Correct, it is not.
All right, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I hate to show my maleness, but what is a warming kitchen?
Very good question, Councilmember Shishka. A warming kitchen, it's defined more by not having plugged-in stoves and things like that. They'll be using a warming stoves as opposed to gas hooked up electric. And I don't know if Nicole, if you want to speak more to the difference between the warming kitchen and a traditional kitchen. Why don't you come up here and just speak at the at the microphone?
I didn't know we could do that.
Thank you for the question, Councilman Shishka. Mayor and Council, yes, to answer the question about the warming kitchen, I'm not a contractor, but I do understand that there are a lot more restrictions around food permitting, commercial kitchen usage that we don't really want to get into. You know, the primary use for us is to be able to teach the kids about part of our healthy habits curriculum, farm to table kind of cooking with more countertop appliances, and just being able to store snacks and things on site in that kitchen.
You guys don't have to put in a hood, right?
No.
That's one of the biggest differences,
Correct.
I think, for that is they can't have like the open flame and the smoke, and that's kind of the difference is I don't think they have to put in a hood, which hoods take 6 months and are extremely expensive.
Costs a lot of
Absolutely.
And Mayor, if you think you're ready for a motion, I will just be an annoying attorney for a second and say this is a public hearing. If anyone from the public would like to speak on this matter regarding a substantial amendment to the 2020 and 2021 CDBG annual action plans, now is your time to do so. Otherwise, we will be closing the public comment period.
Mayor, I move that we.
No comments, then I would entertain a motion.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and second to close the public hearing. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
It's a 7-0.
And Mayor, I move that we that we approve a substantial amendment to the 2020 and 2021 CDBG annual action plans as outlined.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, we'll move on to the associated item 10D.
Approval of acceptance of bid from ALR Construction Management LLC for the renovation of the warming kitchen at the Boys and Girls Club of Central Arizona as part of the approved 2021 CDBG annual action plan in the amount of $59,936.
Any comments or concerns or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve acceptance of a bid from ALR Construction Management LLC regarding this agenda item.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 10
E.
E.
Approval of city contract number 2022-138 to Asphalt Paving and Supply, Inc. for the Rocky Dells Water Main Replacement Project, and approval of city contract number 2022-140 with Kimley Horn for post-design services.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'll hold on one second. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Eric Bay. I'm the Utilities Manager for the City of Prescott. This next item today is approval of a construction contract for the water system replacement in the Rocky Dells neighborhood, and also approval of a small post-design services and engineering contract for the same. Now, Rocky Dells is a small, neat little neighborhood about 2 miles west of downtown Prescott, and the water system replacements are going to be on this exhibit right here. Okay, technical difficulties. I don't know if that's showing up on your desks or not, but it's throughout the entire neighborhood and a little bit of water main replacement on Thumb Butte Road as well. This is going to be a great little project for our water distribution system. When city staff first started scoping this project, we looked back and we saw a number of breaks in the area, and we saw an increase in the frequency of these breaks as well. We looked at the age of the pipeline, the asbestos cement pipeline that we have installed in that neighborhood, and it is at the theoretical end of its maximum service life. And additionally, fortunately, I guess, at one of the failure points, city staff was able to physically evaluate a piece of the pipe that had failed, and we saw firsthand that the structural integrity of that pipe has been greatly diminished. Long story short, this project is past due for the city and will be a good project for us. City staff publicly advertised this project through November. We've received 3 bids, with the apparent low bidder being Asphalt Paving and Supply. We have verified bonding and received a bidder confirmation. We're familiar with Asphalt Paving and Supply and the work they do in and around the city, and we're making a recommendation to award today. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have about this project.
Questions or comments, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. Once the water main's been replaced, is the street going to be repaved, or what happens to the pavement?
In this particular case, we're going to trench in the new water main, and then we're going to pave back, T-top the trench. Once we're done, we're going to come out and put a chip seal through the entire subdivision, so it'll have that nice, uniform, finished look once we're done and out of there.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Well, we certainly got our lifetime out of this. I think it was installed, early 1960s?
Correct.
Very good. Any other questions? No, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve city contract number 2022-138.
Second.
Motion and second, please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
I move to approve city contract number 2022-140.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any public comment on this?
No, Mayor.
No. Okay, please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. We'll move on to item 10F.
Approval of multiple items for assignment of 2 airport ground leases and subsequent amendments at Prescott Regional Airport as follows. Number 1, approval of city contract number 2008-067-AS01, a consent to assignment of lease from Prescott Aviation Land LLC to Cutter Aviation Prescott LLC. Number 2, approval of city contract number 2008-067A2, an amendment to city contract number 2008-067 for certain changes. Number 3, approval of city contract number 2008-17 179AS01, a consent to assignment of lease from Prescott Aviation Fuel LLC to Qatar Aviation Prescott LLC. And number 4, approval of City Contract number 2008-179A2, an amendment to City Contract number -2008-179 for certain changes.
Very nice. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. That was a mouthful. Great job, Sarah. So we're here in front of you today to talk about some exciting things that are happening at the airport. And what you have in front of you is your consideration for 2 ground lease assignments and 2 ground lease amendments associated with a fixed-based operation at Prescott Regional Airport. So for those of you who are unaware, a fixed-based operator provides a number of services, and they're a very important partner. There are more than 350 based aircraft and tenants operating out of Prescott Regional Airport right now. And one of those really important partners is our fixed-based operator. So what a fixed-based operator does is they engage in commercial aeronautical activities on airport property, including at a minimum aircraft fueling, aircraft line services, aircraft storage, parking and tie-down, major aircraft maintenance, retail sales of aircraft parts and accessories, and provision of facilities for our transient aircraft users. Charter operations is also an option, aircraft sales and service, etc. So this is a really important partner on the airport. So in front of you today, we actually have the current entity who is operating the fixed base operator. That is Chris and Leslie Woods, who own Legend Aviation. They've been with us for more than a decade and a half, and we appreciate their service to the community. Thank you so much. We'll be missed. If this is approved today, which we presume it will be. In addition, we also have with us some Qatar staff that I'm going to be introducing in just a moment. I'd like to have Christy Miller go through the details of the negotiations and the lease process that we've undergone with this particular item.
So good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Christy Miller, Airport Services Manager. Based on the amount of motions, as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts to this transaction to occur. So we've been working for quite a few months with Chris and Leslie Woods, as well as Qatar Aviation, to get here today. So I'm just going to go over a few of the details here with you, what we'll be looking at. The first one, contract that we have is for the FBO facility itself. Just some of the highlights for you as far as what that lease entails with Legend Aviation. For that facility, it was a 7.175 acre parcel of land that is under a ground lease. City Council did authorize that on September 4th, 2007 to enter into that lease with them. And it was for a 25-year term with an option to renew for an additional 10-year term. So one of the provisions within that contract as well is a benefit to the city is that with if you transfer more than 50% of your interest in the lease, we do receive at the airport a conveyance fee of 3% of the sales price. So that is worked in with this transaction today that we're asking for your approval on. It also does have an annual CPI adjustment of 3 to 5%, as well as required $4.1 million of improvements on the parcel. One of the other contracts that we have with Legend under Prescott Aviation Fuel, doing business as Legend Aviation, is where our fuel farm is located. Those are where the tanks are for the avgas for the aviation fuel. And that's on a 1.235 acre ground lease, and that was originated in February 28th of 2008. Same term, 25-year term with a 10-year option to renew. So looking at some of the lease amendments, these are what we have worked on as far as the discussions with Qatar Aviation to get here today. We do want to advise you that all of these do meet the FAA standards for leases at an airport. So with that first facility, the FBO facility, that amendment does call for a 25-year term plus a 10-year option. And it is contingent on completing all of the required developments in the amendment that we're proposing today. And that development includes 60,000 square feet of new aircraft ramp and 20,000 square feet of vehicular parking. That will be completed within 2 years of when this transaction were to be completed. And then within 5 years, they will also complete a 20,000 square foot corporate hangar. Again, that 10-year option is fully contingent upon completing that development. In addition to that, with the rent, since the facilities, there are two buildings on the property, a hangar as well as the building that they use, they call the terminal. I think our terminal is a little bit better, but that's to be debated. It was, yes, it was for a while. So with that, after the initial 25-year term on this contract amendment, those two buildings will go to an approved rate facility instead of the ground rate, since those assets would have reverted to the city at that time. So they have agreed that it will go to full market value at that time. As well as the amendment today that we're asking for also has a leasehold expansion of 2.728 acres to accommodate the development that they're looking at doing here at Prescott. So their new leasehold expansion area there would be a total of 9.898 acres. And then on the fuel farm, same term. We did end up removing one of the sales achievement targets within that current lease. It does call for if you hit a certain gallonage that they have to install new tanks. We do believe that Qatar can monitor it appropriately with the tanks that we have to amend it as needed for additional jet fuel. And then also one of the things that we are adding into their lease would be a continuity clause that in the event that they are not able to operate anymore, that the city can take over immediate operations for fueling of the aircraft to make sure that there's continuity for our commercial service aircraft. And then the other big one is adding the minimum operating standards for FBOs. And that just sets a standard that any additional entity or FBO that comes in would need to adhere to as far as different various standards. So this is a map for you of the new leasehold space, just to give you an idea. Here's those two buildings that I referred to earlier that go to market rate after the end of the 25-year term. This in white right here is the 7.17 acres originally on the leasehold space. And then one of the things that we did during this is that this little corner of land here really is actually undevelopable because there's two taxiways here and it's called a runway visibility zone. So they are unable to build on that. So we are looking to modify that and take that off since they are unable to develop that. With the additional parcel, we're looking at adding this land right here that you can see. And that's where it comes to the almost 10 acres that they will have to be able to develop. Right here, this is a fire station that is based here at the airport, Station 73. And so we are concerned to make sure that we do look into any environmental things associated with making sure that they get their rest as needed from jet noises and things like that. So that is built into the amendment as well to look at those factors. Okay, so that's everything as far as the lease. So I'm going to turn it back over to Robin. She'll introduce you to Qatar.
Thank you, Christy. Again, Kristen Leslie Woods, wonderful decade and a half. Thank you for your service to the U.S. Forest Service and all those fighting fires. We've had air carrier operations that start at 4:30 in the morning and can last until about 4:30 in the morning. So depending if there's a delay. And that's a real important service that you've provided to the community. Military has used this airport as our callers usually come in and tell us, sound of freedom over their homes. So many good things. Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to introduce the Qatar Aviation family. Will Qatar is here. Qatar Aviation is actually the oldest family-owned FBO in the world. And we're so privileged to have them interested in operating here at Prescott Regional Airport. To your family of amazing FBOs throughout the Southwest. And Peter Hokinson, their business director, is also here with us, vice president, I'm sorry. Yes. And we've worked closely with them for about 2.5, 3 months now to work through all the details. And I'd like to ask Will to come on up, if you don't mind, Will. Will Qatar, president of Qatar Aviation. And we'll go ahead and launch. You want to speak first or you want the video?
Let me speak first.
Okay.
Excuse me, I have a little cough. Mayor and City Council, thanks for having us out here today. We're a 94-year-old family business, not first generation, fourth generation. But we got about 320 employees. This will be our 9th location in the Southwest. Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado is where we're focused. About half our business is selling airplanes. The other half is servicing those planes through fuel, maintenance, avionics. We do a lot of charter business as well. Our plan and the goal is take what the Woods have done for 15 years, throw a little secret sauce on that, and turn it into a continuing great spot up here. Selling some more airplanes, some charter business, and doing the maintenance that's already there. Selling some additional fuel. You saw expanding the ramp, which hopefully we expand the type of airplanes that continue to come in here. So happy to answer any questions. We do have a quick video we'd like to show you. Well,
Welcome to Prescott. I know I can't speak for the whole council, but I am excited to have Cutter here. Although we love Legend Aviation, I know you guys are, I think, ready to move on to the next chapter. But Cutter, it's you guys are a great business. I know we've done business with you in the past, and you guys have an excellent reputation. And I am very excited. I think this is huge for Prescott, and it's.
we're very excited to be
welcome.
here too. Yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
Yeah.
Aviation is in our DNA. What started as one man's passion for flight has evolved through 4 generations to become the Southwest premier aircraft sales and services provider. From the time you drive up till the moment you touch down, you can expect the highest level of luxury service from people who know aviation. We're in the sky every day, but we remain firmly grounded in our core values. They shape the way we do things, the way we treat each other and our customers. We bring exceptional customer service, providing concierge amenities to personal and business travelers in all of our locations. Our experienced guest services staff takes care of your comfort and traveling needs, while we provide your aircraft with full-line services, including highly trained ground support technicians, the highest quality equipment, and fuel. Private aviation is an extraordinary experience, and we believe yours should be customized to fit you. Our team of aviation experts strive to match you with the right aircraft for your mission, whether it's business or pleasure. We simplify shared ownership, bringing buyers together to share costs, while we manage, maintain, and operate your aircraft. We can take care of all the details. Your personal concierge will manage staffing, scheduling, and logistics, so you can fly with peace of mind. Chartered flights with your team, friends, or family are a great introduction to the Cutter Premium Travel Experience, courtesy of our modern aircraft, top-tier pilots, and support staff. We eat, sleep, and breathe aviation. Our technicians provide the highest level of comprehensive engine, airframe, and
Another FBO here in the general area that you operate is bound to make your capabilities even more predictable and excellent. I know that as our airport expands in its capacity, that having a company like Cutter to be able to expand along with it is a really good partnership that we look forward to having you be a local partner and provide that expanded service and facilities. So I'm pleased to welcome you to Prescott.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, and just so council is aware as well, we did go to our airport advisory committee in October. We had a chance to have Peter and their director of maintenance up to speak to many of our base tenants. I think it was one of the biggest turnouts we've had at our airport advisory committee in a long time. And probably the biggest question is what's the price of fuel going to be?
I noticed that.
But we have gotten great support from our airport advisory committee, as well as many tenants who are very excited about Cutter coming in.
Yes, we're looking forward to the additional services, hopefully the pricing incentives, as well as the reputation that you bring to this airport and the amazing true reputation and trust that the industry has in this caliber of operation. And I want to shout out to Councilmember Shishka, the liaison to the Airport Advisory Committee, for assisting us in introducing them to the community. Thank you for your support on that. Thank you.
And Robin, do you want to just briefly touch upon the improvements, the time period for the improvements, what they're planning on doing?
Yes.
That we're tying them to a performance standard.
Absolutely.
And then my favorite question is, what's that 3% actually look like to the city of Prescott for Christie's hard-earned time
Yes, it's
putting this together?
Yeah, the amount for the conveyance fee is $75,000. Cha-ching, thank you. That's nice. And also, there's going to be an increase in revenue associated with the expansion of the leasehold based on the based ground lease rate right now. So there will be an increase in monthly revenue as well. The performance requirements are the 60,000 square feet of additional ramp, and that will be at 60,000 pounds minimum aircraft weight that it can be able to take, so that we can have the larger aircraft come in that are a hallmark of this type of operation. There will also be an additional 20,000 square feet of parking, which will be needed to accommodate the future growth of the FBO. And we're also looking at a pretty significant hangar, a 20,000 square foot hangar with 28-foot door will allow storage of those larger aircraft that we want to court here, because not only do we benefit from the ground lease, but we also benefit from the fuel flowage fees associated with the fueling of those aircraft. All of that must be completed within 5 years. The first two items within 2, the remainder within 5 years, or the option to extend cannot be exercised. So there is that performance measure built into the contract. Okay?
Excellent.
Okay, great.
And I also want to make a point to thank the Woods for their long-term support of the FBO operations in the airport for a long, long time. So thank you very much. Can we proceed at this point? Any further questions or comments?
No. I'd be honored to make a motion to approve city contract number 2008-067-AS01.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any other comments? Do we have any public comments?
No.
Okay, please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Next.
Do all of them at the same
Yes.
time, or one by one?
One by one.
One by one. Move to approve city contract number 2008-067A2.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any further comments? Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
I move to approve city contract number 2008-179-AS01.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
And lastly, I'd like to move to approve city contract number 2008-179A2.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote.
Councilman Moore?
Yay.
Passes 7-0.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you
Big
all
one.
very much.
Welcome.
Well, that will conclude our city council meeting today. I have one last comment that I always like to bring up some relevant comments from our founding fathers. There can be no truer principle than this, that every individual of the community has an equal right to the protection of government. That came from Alexander Hamilton. This meeting is adjourned.
You're here.